Tonight, we dive into the world of ancient wisdom for the modern entrepreneur with our special guest, Megan Nolan, the brilliant author of The Warrior's Journey. Get ready to harness your inner strength and unlock the unlimited power within you. Stay tuned as we embark on this journey of self-discovery and empowerment. You don't want to miss it.
Our goal is simple: to help you achieve the dream and vision you first had when you thought about starting a business. We're here to make growing your business less complicated. There are building blocks to build a sustainable business. We promise to seek them out and address them all. The Better Your Business Show starts now.
Hello. Welcome to a special edition of the Better Your Business Show. I'm your host for tonight, Shanna Mavis, the coach for business. My amazing co-host and financial strategist extraordinaire, Natalie Essman, your money expert, is unfortunately under the weather and can't join us tonight, but I know she's watching if she's awake. So hello, Natalie. In the studio with me tonight, though, I have the author of The Warrior's Journey, Ancient Wisdom for the Modern Entrepreneur, Megan Nolan. In addition to being an author, Megan is a personal trainer, a yoga instructor, award-winning speaker, positive intelligence coach, and according to the Los Angeles Tribune and others, she's an influential thought leader. She is on a mission of continuing to elevate the energy of the planet by helping other purpose-driven entrepreneurs and humans to be vibrantly, holistically healthy and happy. Now, I could keep going on and on, but I'm going to bring her into the studio and let her do some of the talking. So please welcome Megan Nolan. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Natalie normally does those, so I had to step up my game tonight and make her proud because I know she's going to be watching and she's always the hype person. So I was like, okay, I got to channel my inner Natalie. So how are you, Miss Megan?
I'm amazing. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. So I know we're going to be talking about the book. Is this your first book?
It is.
It's all right.
Baby.
And if you pick up a copy, so you can find it, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, like on your site as well?
Yes.
Linking you out and grabbing it. So perfect. I love that you talk about a little bit of why it came to be. So pick up the book if you want to know the why. I want to dig more into a lot of the book because the time is going to go so fast. And I was telling you before the show started, I was like, I highlighted some stuff. I've got, the Kindle. I was like, oh, snap, I can highlight this because I want to come back to it. So I've highlighted some things and I brought some up and I don't want to waste any time. I want to dig into the reason that we have you on this show, because a lot of people are like, well, what does yoga have to do with the, entrepreneur? What is the warrior's journey? And I cannot think of a more amazing description for entrepreneurs, except for warriors, right? We are fighting every day to build something that, came to us one day, right? It's just like, okay, we have this idea. Now, how do I turn this into a business? And it's fighting yourself, your inner thoughts, all of these things. You talk about a lot of this in the book. And so I want to give you a chance to introduce that and we'll get to know you a little bit. And I know I jumped right into the book. I was ready.
No, I know. Thank you. I love how excited you are. I'm excited too. Yes, of course. So a little bit about me. I am very passionate about supporting other entrepreneurs because, as you said, we're change makers. We have a mission in our heart. We have a vision and you're going after it. But sometimes when you're charging after your vision, you forget that you have a body that needs to be taken care of. And in order for you to get to the finish line of your goals, ideally you're thriving. And in my opinion, Holistic success is what we are striving for, meaning that you are successful in all areas of your life, not just in your bank account, that you are happy in your relationships, you're energized, you're patient with your kids, your dog, whatever it is, you have time for your community, you're really living as fully as possible. That's what I help people with, because I believe when that is happening, you have the solid foundation to create more impact and attract more abundance and be more of who you are and share your magic with the world. So that's what I do. And the reason I'm so focused on using the tools of yoga to help other entrepreneurs to do this is because it's an all-encompassing tool set. Sometimes you think of yoga as, twist me into a pretzel and I'm going to audition for Cirque du Soleil. And while we have physical benefits, which are backed by science, and I could go on and on about the benefits of exercise and movement and heart health and stress reduction and oxygen and all that stuff. I could talk about that for days if you want. We don't even have to touch base on the sitting part because we all do that way too much. I want you to realize that the tool set of yoga is a tool set of ancient wisdom that's never been more applicable in our modern life, and in particular, never more applicable for entrepreneurs because, as you mentioned, we are warriors. And the story of the warrior, that is the one that inspired all of the warrior poses in yoga, which if you've been anywhere near a yoga mat, you've probably done at least one of them.
Yeah.
Yes, right? People have, if not done all three and some variations. But a lot of people don't know that there's an ancient story behind them. And the story of the warrior, whose name is Virabhadra, is a metaphor for the journey that we are all on as humans, but very perfectly aligned with the journey that we're on as entrepreneurs. He's given a mission and he goes after it. He's carving out a new pathway for himself. Think of it. Your business didn't exist before you brought it to life. You carve out pathways, you create new connections, new opportunities. He arrives at the scene where he's about to take action on his mission and he owns his place in the spotlight. He stands there with power and presence, right? You have to have embodiment of your confidence. If you show up to your Facebook Lives or your podcasts or your interviews and you're like, hi, my name's Megan and I really love yoga, it's a totally different vibe, right? And so that's what it's helping us to do there. And then finally, it's all about having that power, having that presence, and taking inspired action when we feel unsteady. Because just like standing on one foot, entrepreneurship is not predictable. And the challenge of all of it is learning to control the most difficult of all opponents, the one that's right up here. And that's what it's a metaphor for. And that's really the metaphor for yoga, but also entrepreneurship, right? Is learning to get your mind on board with your vision so that it's not constantly sabotaging you. So that's what I do.
I love it. And it is a really easy read. That was one of the things that I liked about it because I do a lot of my reading on the screen. It has to do with business, my business or someone else's business or something. I spend a lot more time consuming that type of content for that purpose. And so it was nice to sit back and it still has something to do with me. But it was just a step back from this is so technical in nature. It was more of an identification of things that we as entrepreneurs struggle with, and a way around that. And, I told you full disclosure, it was like I touched all of the chapters and I read through it. The same thing I do with most books, except for a lot of them I'll get to chapter 2 and then I'm like, okay. I feel like you're telling me all of the same things that I've seen online, or I know it, right? There's nothing new in that. But it was so nice to sit and go through some of this. And I'm actually going to read a few clips without giving away the entire book. But it started out for me when you mentioned, I think this was in the introduction even, the real truth is entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. If anyone has sold you on the idea that running a business will be easy, sadly, they were pulling your leg. It is not a simple task to ride the emotional roller coaster of business ownership. The unpredictability of the ups and downs is no joke, but wow, is it worth it? And I was touched by that because that was one of the questions that a lot of business owners ask. This is Googled quite often. Is starting a business worth it? And you got it in there. So there's a way to enjoy this, right? You're looking at this and you're saying, yeah, you're going to have these ups and downs, but it's worth it in the end. So I'd love for you to talk more about how you can say that with full confidence. And that answers a lot of the business owners out there, their question, because they're Googling it. So tell us, it's worth it. How do you say that, or why?
It's worth it in a lot of different ways. And that sort of goes back to what I was saying about holistic success. So it's yes, hopefully it becomes profitable for you and then it's worth it financially, but it's worth it as far as the journey that it takes you on in your own growth and understanding of who you are as a person. I said in there a few different ways that I don't think there's a faster track to personal development than becoming an entrepreneur. Because my goodness, is it ever vulnerable, especially as a personal brand, is it ever vulnerable to be putting yourself out there and, pour your heart and soul into a program and then launch it to the world and it fall flat? And to not take that personally, oh, that's difficult. It's very difficult. But what we're learning how to do is what we practice on the mat is practicing self-awareness, watching ourselves in our patterns, watching our habits, watching our reactions, right? Because that's what we do on the yoga mat. But that's really what we're doing as entrepreneurs is watching yourself in the, oh, I just finished the webinar and no one signed up. Why have I done this? There's no point. I should never do another webinar. Webinars are dead. They're not working, and it's like crazy how quickly we can go into this spiral.
Yeah.
And so what we're learning to do is watch yourself and essentially coach yourself. I mean, the irony is not lost on me that half of us are coaches and we're so great at coaching other people. And then when it comes to ourselves, we're like, psst, like halfway writing the book, I get halfway done it and my brain's going, yeah, I don't think this makes sense. People aren't going to understand this. Are they going to want to read about this? I don't think they're going to care. You probably should not do this. And I was like, psst, hold the phone there, committee. That little negative committee in my head. I am just not letting you do this time. This is no. And, anytime. So one of the things I want to share with you is that anytime we're getting close to our edge, physically, we want to, be aware, make sure we're not pushing too far into any pose. But when we're getting close to our edge and we're feeling that resistance, that's a time for us to be even more aware. And this is that tool set that you're saying is this is worth it because do you want to be stagnant? Like, do you want to be the person that you were last year for the rest of your life? No. Like most entrepreneurs, I would say, we're learners. We're creatives. We're action takers, right? And that if we were just kind of sitting in a box, and we saw that in the pandemic, right? Everybody and their dog wrote a book or started a business. Nobody could be like sitting there for too long, and like not doing anything. And so I think really what to answer your question is it's worth it because it allows you to learn about yourself and to truly grow into, because it's a practice both, on the mat and in your business of that journey, of the growth, of the understanding, of the expansion, of the ability to let go of the past and continually focus on the present, continually keep your mind focused on your goals, right? It's worth it in the sense of where it takes you.
Very well said. I like that. I agree. And you do learn a lot about yourself and about other people and relating to them and understanding just how we all, connect in so many different ways if we allow ourselves to be that open. And that was one of the things. And I have not done yoga in years, like in real life, gone to a class or anything like that. I still remember some of the poses that when something is wrong, like I can feel it. And I know if I just, do this stretch or do something that I know how to relieve that. That was one of the things that I really enjoyed about the practice was more so for me, it was just this way of becoming a little bit more flexible, I felt, and being able to stretch my body in a way that relieved a lot of the pain versus, immediately going to like some painkiller or something. It's like, oh no, I know something that's going to help that does not put any other chemicals in my body or anything like that. But also just the clearing of your mind, really just letting your body relax into that. So I like the idea of marrying those two worlds. It was interesting the way that you brought that together. That was one of the things that I was noticing is you beautifully identify the problem for many entrepreneurs. We're sitting there and, we're pulling our hair out or up in the, 2 a.m. and I'm worried about this, wondering, why did I start this business? What qualifies me, right? And we talked about, it just reminded me a lot of these conversations that we had in season 4, where we were talking about things that real business owners are talking about, and understanding that 2 a.m, that imposter syndrome, talking about that and getting away from that. And I imagine that they're a big part of that committee. That the imposter syndrome comes from this committee you talk about in the book.
Mm-hmm.
So share with us that so that people can understand. Again, here's a tool, a resource that you have available. Just check it out to see how to overcome that.
Mm-hmm. And I should have asked you this before. What is the opinion on the word that goes in front of committee that you read in the book?
Yeah. So,
okay.
You're absolutely fine.
Okay. I won't use it excessively. I just wanted to get your permission. So one of the modalities that I'm trained in is called positive intelligence, which boils down to you learning to take control of your mind, which, as you learned earlier, is the essence of the yoga practice, is the essence of the warrior's journey, and essentially entrepreneurship. And what happens when we go to stretch ourselves, when I was saying earlier, when you go live on Facebook, when you're about to launch a new product or do a webinar or whatever it is that your brain is doing everything it can to keep you safe. Let's just have a minute for that beautiful brain of yours. Just put your hands on your head and take a deep breath and say thank you, because it's gotten you as far as it has. But what it's doing, and it's hardwired to do, is to keep you safe exactly where you are in your zone of familiarity. So it has a lot of ways to do that. And many of them are methods of self-sabotage, one of which is the imposter syndrome. Others are perfectionism, avoidance, hyper vigilance, like worried about everything, hyper rational. There's so many different ways that we self-sabotage, right? I'm sure you can recognize a few of those on your own list. But what happens is that because they are driving you by fear and pushing you, telling you, oh, it's not good enough, you're not good enough, what's the problem here, you're never going to fix it, da 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 da. All of that negativity is driven by fear, and that's the part of the brain that it's lived in. So what I call them is the shitty committee, because they don't make you feel very good, because they talk a lot of nonsense about what you are and who you are and what you're capable of. And they don't do very much other than what I just mentioned. And really, that's what they're all about, right? They talk a lot. They really just make you feel like that. And they're just nonsense. And these are characters that we all have, right? Whether you want to admit it or not, you talk to yourself all day long mentally, right? These thoughts are just running on autopilot. And so what happens is that when we learn to just recognize this, catch yourself in the patterns of, there's me pushing hard, working till 4 a.m. I can't turn my brain off because I need to do these 800 million things before I go to sleep, and justifying all of it, when that will literally run the show until we become more aware. And so what you're learning to do in the yoga practice and in life and in positive intelligence, and in the book, you'll learn these tools, is to catch yourself in those moments. If when you start to notice that you feel like crap, or your mind is running a million miles an hour, or you're, fixing the font on your PDF for like the 800th time, and you change the tint of the color like a little bit more because it's not quite perfect. All of that nonsense that we all do. I see you. I don't have to see you on your computer to know you do these things. And what it's doing is, when you catch yourself in those moments, and you'll learn about this in the book, to become present, because as entrepreneurs, we also have very brilliant, wildly focused and creative minds that are also just running lots and lots and lots, is you catch yourself in that and use some of the tools of the yoga practice to ground yourself, to become present in your body, whether that's breathing or doing some actual yoga or going outside or dancing or whatever it is you like. And what it's doing is bringing you into a calm state. We're actually quieting that noisy stress center in your brain, shifting you to a higher functioning state of brain. So your prefrontal cortex comes online, which is where your ideas, your creativity, your imagination, your patience, your mood, all of that is affected in that part of the brain. And so it takes you to that part of your brain, and that's the thriving part of your brain. So what we're doing here is learning to catch yourself in those sabotaging spirals and tap back into your inner guidance, your inner wisdom, your wise warrior within, so that You can move in alignment with your vision. You can take inspired action and not get frozen in fear, right? You can own your place in the spotlight, own your role as an expert, as a leader, and really show up from that place, right? And not listening to this nonsense, guided by this wisdom. That's really what the warrior's journey is all about, and life, I suppose.
Okay, so you said some things that reminded me of a couple of more parts in the book that I definitely want to touch on. There's so many things, but one of them was you alluded to the resilience, and I love what you called it in your book. What is it? Bounce back ability. And I was like, that stood out to me because it's just like, okay. And you said we all have it.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
The fact that you've made it as far as you have. I mean, I'm 44. I've bounced back a few times, right? Think about how many times when you were just a little wee tot and you were learning to wobble and then, walk and then you sit back up. Like, we all have that ability to bounce back. Yet as entrepreneurs, we want to learn how to do something. We want to learn how to do it perfectly. We want to get it right on the first time. We want it to generate some major money right out of the gates. And when it doesn't, if it quote unquote is a flop or a failure,
right.
then we can get in that tailspin of the negative, the saboteurs or that negative collective in our mind. And what we're learning to do when we take this perspective of it's a journey of your growth, it's happening for you to be able to get to where you want to go, and reframing these moments, because they're not, it's not a negative thing to have this problem. And one of my coaches, James Wedmore, says we learn a lot more from failures than we do from success. And so when we have these moments where we get tripped up and we go, fall flat on our face and our launch flops and nobody signs up and we're in that spiral of what am I even doing? I'm not cut out for this, which is exactly where I found myself. And I have a few times, and we're getting hijacked by that committee. Then that's when you get to say, all right, if this is happening for me, what is it teaching me? What is the lesson here? How can I use this to become more confident in what I'm doing? And half the time what you're learning is actually usually something that you help your clients with in some way, shape, or form. So it really is conducive to your growth and your journey, right? Not everybody,
Yeah.
but I mean, a lot of the times, if we look at it from a different perspective. So that's bounce back ability.
Yeah, it is interesting to me because I noticed that in a conversation I was having with a potential client. It was going really well. And as I was talking to her, I heard myself talking to me.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, wow. Yeah, I do know this. So
Right.
I got the knowledge to do this. I can handle these things a different way. And I need to be taking my own advice. And so it's so hard sometimes because, like you said, we will tell people that all day long. We know how to tell people that. We know the right steps to take, but then we sometimes fail to take them as coaches, as leaders. And it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, are you kidding? But then remembering to have, and this is, always something I say, remembering to have grace for ourselves. It is taking that time to say, okay, it's all right. People,
Yeah.
they know I'm human, even if I don't sometimes.
Right. Exactly.
And just leaning back into that. But okay, so I know I've only got a couple of minutes, so I've got to skip to the very last thing. And this was, to me, one of the, I love it. It's the very last chapter of the book. And I made notes and I was like, you had me at love, but then you got me again with your question. If I ask you to name all the things you love, how long would it take for you to name yourself? And so what was your experience with that? And I saw what your experience with that question was, but I want you to just kind of describe that to the audience.
And while I can't take credit for that quote,
Right.
I read that quote and I was absolutely floored, because I don't even think I would have made the list, to be honest. It just didn't even register to me that should be something that I am very aware that I am in love with, that I love so much that I want to show up for myself and support myself and be kind and show myself grace and all of that stuff. It just hadn't occurred to me because I'm over there in the corner like, hurry up, faster, hurry up, make it happen. Let's go, 10K, 10 minutes, whatever it is, whatever nonsense I was trying to motivate myself, I'm like, that's not me. But we see all that nonsense on social media. So it was something that didn't even occur to me. And that made me sad. When I realized it made me sad because I was like, man, ultimately the practice of yoga is self-awareness, self-acceptance, self-love. And that's really what this journey is too, and we always hear that, like there's either two forces, love or fear. And I was so hijacked by fear and so hijacked by the stress and the struggle that I had forgotten that loving compassion.
Wow. Okay. So I knew the time was going to go by, and I knew I had far too many notes about the book that I knew we weren't going to be able to cover them all in this special edition. So that means at some point we're going to have you come back, talk to us about, a little bit more about this and on to the next thing. But I do want to we always love to give our guests the opportunity to leave our audience with something practical that they can take away that's going to help them better their business. We believe in the title of the show. So give them some piece of information or advice. I'm going to give you a little bit of time to do that.
Absolutely. See if you can find the common denominator. Your business, your clients, your copy, your email list, your social media following, your team, your taxes, yours. The common denominator there is you. And everything in your business is a reflection of you. And when you show up for yourself, it has such a beautiful ripple effect into all areas of your life, because when you show up for yourself, you take care of yourself, mind, body, spirit, you are able to show up as your true self, your brilliant self, your grounded self, your centered self, the self that comes from here, not from the frantic, frazzled here state. So that is what I would leave you with, and a tool to begin to integrate that into your life, showing up for yourself before you start to come and, check out some of the tools that I have and the fun stuff that I have going on in August and the book and all of that. The one thing that I would say is that start your day with intention. Start your day by standing or sitting as tall as you possibly can and just take a second to get in your body, to feel your body self, because it's so easy for us to just grab the phone and go, okay, here we go, million apps, here we go. Get in your body and open yourself back up, because when you are in a strong and open posture, you are communicating so much with your body language to every person you encounter, but also to yourself. And that affects your mood, your stress level, your immune function, your energy level, all of that. So take a moment each day to just ground into your body and choose how you're going to walk into the day. Like when you go on stage, right? If you speak on stage, right before you go on stage, you get up and you're like, puffy peacock, here I go. And then you walk on stage. Do that for yourself each day, because you're showing up for yourself and your business the same way.
I love it. Okay. Tell us about you've got a couple of offers, or you've got one event that's coming up and then you've got an offer. So tell us about that real quickly.
Yes. Okay. So what I would say is that a lot of people get caught up in the busyness of summertime. So let's not half-ass August. Let's boost your booty. Let's tone and tighten your tushy and go strutting into September so that you are feeling confident. So we have a fun 5-week series that will be live and interactive, virtual, of course. So you'll be able to do it from wherever you are in the world, because really when you boost your booty, you boost your mood and you boost your bottom line. I know you're business owners, so that's really what you're thinking about, but you're boosting your bottom line at the same time. Trust me, for all the reasons that we just talked about, right? Everything is a reflection of you. So join us for that. That's kicking off on August 1st. And if you happen to miss this and you miss that window and you catch this later, or you want to just get some information, I have a fun quiz, 2 minutes, literally take you 2 minutes, that will tell you and show you which yoga pose you get to practice based on where you are in your business. Are you seeking clarity? Are you ready to own your role as a leader? Are you up leveling and taking next steps? Which yoga pose will help you based on where you're at right now to be more successful and impactful? Yoga can do that. Yeah, it sure can. So that is what I would love to gift you with. So that one's totally free. It's fun. You get a lot of resources in there as well. But if you are ready to boost your booty, then definitely come and check out that beautiful offering that's happening in August.
That is amazing. Okay, so Megan, Nolan, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I really appreciate it for our special edition. We will have you back in the studio sometime. Wish you the best of luck with the event and with the book sale. So you guys can go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, check it out, The Warrior's Journey, Ancient Wisdom for Modern Entrepreneurs. So thank you so much, Megan.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been super fun.
All right, everyone. As we wrap up tonight's extraordinary journey into ancient wisdom for the modern entrepreneur, we want to leave you with a heartfelt reminder from Megan's book, The Warrior's Journey. You're far more powerful than you give yourself credit for. Join us again in 2 weeks on August 3rd at 7 p.m. Central for another special edition where we'll have another amazing guest with a powerful story of bounce back ability. Mark your calendars and get ready to unleash your true potential. Until then, go back and watch some of the previous episodes. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to any of our social media channels. We would appreciate your support, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
A wise man once asked, what if starting a business was like jumping out of a plane? And like 76% of businesses, what if 76% of parachutes failed before you reached the destination? What about those of you who have already jumped? Well, you may still have time to check your business. Pillar5.com, where businesses get it right. Our goal is simple, to help you achieve the dream and vision you first had when you thought about starting a business. We're here to make growing your business less complicated. There are building blocks to build a sustainable business. We promise to seek them out and address them all. The Better Your Business Show starts now.